Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavatir Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Reading from Canto 5, Chapter 18. The residents of Jambūdvīpa offer prayers. Text 4. Vadanti Vishvam. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Translation: O unborn one, learned Vedic scholars who are advanced in spiritual knowledge certainly know that this material world is perishable, as do other logicians and philosophers. In trance, they realize the factual position of this world and they preach the truth as well. Yet even they are sometimes bewildered by your illusory energy. This is your own wonderful pastime. Therefore, I can understand that your illusory energy is very wonderful, and I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Purport: not only does the illusory energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead act on the conditioned soul within this material world, but sometimes it also acts on the most advanced learned scholars who factually know the constitutional position of this material world through realization. As soon as someone thinks, I am this material body, aham mameti, and everything in relationship with this material body is mine, he is in illusion, moha. This illusion caused by the material energy acts especially on the conditioned souls, but it sometimes also acts on liberated souls as well. A liberated soul is a person who has sufficient knowledge of this material world and is therefore unattached to the bodily conception of life. But because of association with the modes of material nature for a very long time, even liberated souls sometimes become captivated by the illusory energy due to inattentiveness in the transcendental position. Therefore, Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Māmeva ye prapadyante mayam ye tam tarantite. Only those who surrender unto me can overcome the influence of the material energy. Therefore, no one should think of himself as a liberated person immune to the influence of Maya. Everyone should very cautiously execute devotional service by rigidly following regulative principles. Thus he will remain fixed at the lotus feet of the Lord. Otherwise, a little inattention will create havoc. We have already seen an example of this case in Maharaj Bharata. Maharaj Bharata was undoubtedly a great devotee, but because he turned his attention slightly towards a small deer, he had to suffer 2 more births, one as a deer, another one as a Brahmana Jada Bharata. Afterward, he was liberated and went back home, back to Godhead. The Lord is always prepared to excuse his devotee, but if a devotee takes advantage of the Lord's leniency and purposefully commits mistakes again and again, the Lord will certainly punish him by letting him fall down into the clutches of the illusory energy. In other words, theoretical knowledge acquired by studying the Vedas is insufficient to protect one from the clutches of Maya. One must strongly adhere to the lotus feet of the Lord in devotional service, then one's position is secure. Umagyanatimirandasya jnananjana shalakaya chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guruho Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamsa Shri Rupam Sakrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sakitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamsha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Tat Sat Hare Krishna. We are reading from the residents of Jambūdvīpa offering prayers. I'll read the translation again. O unborn one, learned Vedic scholars who are advanced in spiritual knowledge certainly know that this material world is perishable, as do other logicians and philosophers. In trance, they realize the factual position of this world and they preach the truth as well. Yet, even they are sometimes bewildered by your illusory energy. This is your own wonderful pastime. Therefore, I can understand that your illusory energy is very wonderful, and I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. These are prayers offered by different residents of different varshas in the Jambūdvīpa, like the Ilavarta Varsha and Bharata Varsha and Ramyaka Varsha, and like that there are varshas into which the Bhumandala and Jambūdvīpa is divided. And each one of them has got a presiding deity. And these are all prayers offered by all of them. Amazingly, they all are very well versed in understanding this beautiful creation of the Lord. And although many things are real to our perception, and we experience some of these things, it is very nicely pointed out by them in their prayers that your illusory energy is very wonderful. And Prabhupada explains, illusion means thinking I am this material body. I am this material body, and everything in relationship with this material body is mine. It is called moha, illusion. So why is it wonderful? Why is it adbhuta that the illusory energy is? So if you analyze it a little bit, you will know that to forget yourself, to forget Krishna, and to accept that forgetful situation as reality, and continue to exist in that, and take things very seriously in that, that is wonderful. And how is that able to happen? It is because we forget the reality and we sell ourselves, and we never ever want to get out of that illusion. The greatness of this illusion is that we accept it as reality, and even though we know the theory and the knowledge, still we continue to accept the illusion as reality. It is the power of the illusory force. In other words, you are helplessly stuck although you know the truth. That's the crazy aspect of illusion. That's why it's mentioned here as wonderful is your illusion. In many places in the Bhagavatam you will see appreciation of the wonderful illusion. And in different aspects. Here it is mentioned that even liberated people get affected by it. That is why it's wonderful. And there's a nice shloka in the 11th canto that says, Yachaktayo vadatam vadinam vai vivada sambada bhavo grinanti. Learned people, very learned people, they argue about the truth, and they are both in illusion about the truth, but they are arguing about it. And you are situated in both their hearts and you cater to their untruth. Kurvanti isham muhuratma moham. Tasmai, it says, all glories to you who, situated in their hearts, continue to make them think that they are correct, although they are wrong. This is wonderful moha. So, when people argue about certain things that they know or they don't know or they think is wrong, actually many times they are illusioned and they don't know that. To think that what I know is real, whereas it is actually not real, is a strange type of a thing. Because I am convinced that this is true. And I hold on to it by my false ego. And you don't listen to what is true. It's unfortunate. So this type of a situation can happen if you do not develop devotional service, if you do not develop devotion to the Lord. It's not enough if you just know. It's not enough if you have knowledge. It's required for you to attract the mercy of the Lord. It is required for you to develop love for Krishna. Only then the illusion is actually disappearing. Knowledge, philosophers, great pundits, and all of them get bewildered because of the illusory energy of the Lord. That's mentioned here. The Bhagavatam is replete with many such instances. Prabhupada is here quoting even about Maharaj Bharata and his attachment to the deer. What to speak of all of us, how we must be in this situation. Maharaj Bharata, very exalted, we heard his wonderful story in the Bhagavatam. Such a amazing person in the very high stage of Bhakti. Even he, and the reason Prabhupada gives is that his willful indulgence, making a choice to indulge in spite of being situated in devotional service nicely, was punished by Krishna. And 2 more births he spent in illusion, in this material world. So, 2 things we can learn from here is you cannot be purposefully, willfully inattentive. You also need to be told, you also need to be disciplined by somebody. And somebody may ask the question, why will you purposely be doing that when you have the higher taste of bhakti? But that is the nature of illusion. That you can drift, you can just wander So the important point that is stressed here is to be attentive, to be vigilant, to be strictly observant. And this is a challenge, especially for people in Kali Yuga. Mandas mandamatayo mandabhagyihi upadhritaha. That very easily they can get diverted in today's world. Therefore, this is something very relevant to us, that these prayers are speaking about even great persons who can get bewildered. Then sometimes we may ask, then what's the meaning of being liberated? What is the meaning of being perfect? That will be an interesting question. Because we hear in the Bhagavatam about Brahma getting illusioned. Brahma Vimohana Leela. The topmost person in this world, most intelligent person, intimately connected with Krishna, he also gets bewildered. He also gets bewildered. But the interesting thing in the Bhagavatam you will see is very simply absorbed in bhakti. The gopis, the gopas, and simple devotees of the Lord. There is no chance of them getting bewildered. There are also a class of people that don't get bewildered. In Vrindavana, you can see the gopis and the gopas, Mother Yashoda and all the residents are never going to get willfully bewildered. They are absorbed in the reality. This is what it's very unique, that in Vrindavan, the Brajavasis remain very absorbed in Krishna. So there is a class of, that there are people who can get bewildered up to the level of Brahma, and there are people who are very simple, don't get bewildered at all. And they remain very absorbed in Krishna consciousness. There's no instance of them getting bewildered. Very naturally, they are stuck to Krishna. So this type of difference makes us understand very deeply what is the exalted nature of pure bhakti. What's the meaning of bhakti? It is only bhakti, it's only devotion to the Lord that can free you from illusion, that can permanently free you from illusion. So that's why we aspire for pure devotion to the Lord. Because otherwise, any time, anything can happen to you. Now, it sounds very idealistic. It's setting the bar too high. Never mind. Whatever you can perform in devotional service is never lost in Krishna consciousness. Partha naiveha namutra vinasham. It says there is no vinasha for engaging in devotional service. That is a permanent asset. That you are not losing. But your indulgence in non-devotional activities, which is a sort of an addiction for the conditioned soul, especially fruitive activities that give you some engagement, fruit, and complete absorption and everything, that has to be gradually minimized. And here it says intensely minimized. And it says that you should not indulge in it at all. So some of these things may discourage some. But the point here is that perfection is not coming just like that, automatically. Perfection is something that you have to really desire, work for, and sincerely aspire for. Sometimes we make the Krishna conscious fruit very casually, take it very casual. That attitude is what is being pointed out here. Don't think that it will automatically happen. Nothing is automatic. Everything is personal. Everything is your involvement. Everything is your desire. If you don't deeply desire, why should it happen? Why should it automatically happen? That is one area where Krishna retains your individuality. Jai Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Mai Ki. Where he doesn't interfere. You're desiring. And that very brilliant purport written in the Bhagavad Gita in chapter 5, wherein Krishna is telling, nor does the Supreme accept anyone's karma. Nadate kaschitit papam. That shloka, I don't remember that fully. Na adate kaschitit papam. Agyena vritam jnanam tena muhyanti jantavaha. I forget that other line. Tena muhyanti jantavaha. I have nothing to do with your situation according to your karma. That is your desire. You have executed that according to your desire. I don't accept that, neither do it comes on me. That is your problem. This is your problem. Makes it very clear. What you act out of your own volition, you will get the result for that. That you will get the result. Agyena vritam jnanam tena muhyanti jantavaha means, if you are covered by ignorance, avritam jnanam, if you are covered by ignorance, then you may desire according to that. And that is your problem. Na addate kaschitit papam. I don't accept on myself those actions of yours. And that purport Prabhupada explains that Krishna does not tamper with the desires of the living entity. That is his private activity. He can desire how he wants, and the Lord from within the heart will provide situations and circumstances to satisfy that desire accordingly. This is where a interesting thing comes. This is where we can understand it's not automatic. Krishna is making it very clear. I don't mess around with your individuality, nor do I mess around with your individual desire. It's yours. Otherwise, how can you be you and me? There's no fun in it. Your desire makes up your personality. Your desire is coming from your individuality, your choice. This is a main aspect that is spoken about here. Any time you can desire the other way. And it is not automatic. It is not that because you are in Krishna consciousness inside the temple wearing tilak and kantimala, Maya will not affect you. Not true at all. When Krishnadas became a servant of Lord Chaitanya, and he travelled with Lord Chaitanya, he came to South India. Is Lord Chaitanya's servant. He got attracted to some gypsy women and went behind them. And they caught hold of him and they tried to drag him inside. And Lord Chaitanya, sannyasi, had to go and get him out of there. And he didn't like it. And then he became very grave. When he went back, he said, this person, I don't want to see him again. Handed him over. Because they are the ones who gave, you take this assistant, he is very good, he is nice for you, he'll help you. And then, when he came back, he was very disturbed with his behavior. So it is not that it is automatic. You may be servant of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, still you can allow Maya to attack you. Isn't it? It is by choice. It is by choice. It's by desire. I'm getting attracted, somebody do something to me, please help me. Krishna, help me, I'm getting attracted. Why are you getting attracted? That's your choice. So this burden, many of us don't want to accept. The individuality burden, the exercise of choice and desire. We don't want to accept that. We want to rule out the possibility of our individuality. Somebody take over my individuality. Somebody be me. It's not possible. It doesn't happen like that. Then there is no question of bhakti. Then there is no question of individuality. So sometimes you feel the burden of individuality on you. Krishna doesn't interfere with that. He may be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He may be the source of the Sanatana. But it doesn't interfere with your individual choice and desire. This is a very distinct aspect of the philosophy that we must understand. We shouldn't think that automatically things will happen. Somewhere in the back of the head we think that that's the way it should be. Automatically it will happen. It's not automatic. Bhakti means awakening your individuality, awakening your personality, awakening your love for Krishna. It is your responsibility. Right? And if we make a wrong choice, we do that by our own desire. It's not that I am doing it, somebody is pushing me to do it or something. That's why we should analyze why we do what we do at every point of time and be conscious of it. So many times we would like, that's why we become, develop hatred to oneself. It's because I am not able to exercise my choice according to Krishna's instructions. This is when a Vaishnava's mercy is very useful. At this juncture, it is when a devotee, a pure devotee, can actually help that conditioned soul. You will see in the Leelamrita many such occasions of Prabhupada seeing some of his disciples struggling. He offers himself and he gives very, very good advice. And at the same time he tells that it is your choice. See, sometimes Krishna consciousness is, what do you say? We feel that I wish it was like this. I wish that Krishna will personally make this happen like this, in spite of my choices, in spite of my desires. It's a wishful thinking. So that's when we really understand where we stand. We understand where we stand. And our prayer becomes more deep. When we have knowledge about our own desire, our own choice, and our own addictions and our own situation, then our prayer becomes, especially if you still desire that you should be a recipient of pure devotion to Krishna, then your prayer becomes intense and the purification can gradually cure you of your wrong choice. This is the meaning of saying that you should, out of your own personality, individuality, offer prayers to the Lord. That is the good thing about these set of prayers. The residents of Jambūdvīpa offer prayers. If you read these prayers, they are all very deep prayers. And they fully understand who is Krishna, what is my relationship with the Lord, what is my situation. That's why it's very interesting, because in this series of chapters there's a description of the structure of the whole universe and the build-up and the construct, which is very amazingly bewildering in terms of size, in terms of numbers, and in terms of design. It describes amazing things which we never know normally. And when we understand that, we understand the smallness of each one of us, the gigantic expanse. One universe is described, just Bhumandala is described. And it is so huge, so huge. And the result is that we feel very tiny. If you really understand it, you'll feel very tiny. That is when this type of prayers are offered. I wondered why this prayers is inside the structure of the universe. Why is it suddenly coming up inside the structure of the universe? It's because these people are all very intelligent and they are highly knowledgeable. And they understand how the Lord, out of His mercy, is catering to my material desire. For that He has constructed this fantastic facility. Who? For me and you. To sit there and think in illusion, I am great. To actually go and see how great you are. And you can understand this is a useless project. The greatness project of the conditioned soul in the fantastic facility created by the Lord, which He can crush anytime. Instantly He can crush it, the entire creation. Boom, it disappears. Karnarnavashayi Vishnu, He can instantly finish it. That description of bubbles of ocean coming from the pores of His skin. And in each one of them, Him being expanded as Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. Each universe. So many expansions of Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. Innumerable. So many universes. And such huge expanse. We live in a universe which is 4 billion miles in diameter. All this is mentioned. And then when you understand this huge creation which is all illusory, just to cater to your illusion. And the reality is Krishna, who is doing this for you, and you don't keep that constantly in your consciousness. When you see yourself as part of this creation, when you see yourself as a conscious individual, part and parcel of Krishna, in this world of matter which is so complexly created, and which is so easily created. It's so complex, but it is so casually created by Krishna. It's just breathing. Then you understand the greatness of the Lord, and you understand how insignificant you are. How totally insignificant you are. But in your head you think you're very great. You think you're very great. That's the illusion. That's why reading these type of chapters helps us to understand, put our feet on the ground and offer prayers to the Lord. Learning to offer a prayer. One thing is to repeat a prayer that is offered, which we are doing. Brahma Samhita, Quinquenthese prayers, we by heart all of them we offer. But to on your own offer prayers out of realization of the greatness of the Lord, out of realization of your very precarious situation in the material nature, that is purifying. That is purifying. So these are some of the reflections that we can get from this wonderful shloka, which is a prayer offered by, I don't know which Varsha. These are prayers offered by, it's right in the beginning, Bhadrashva Varsha. I think that's what is the prayers. Yes. Om Tat Sat. Any question or comment? Yeah.
Maharaj, in spite of my desire, is it possible to forcefully make choices?
Can't hear.
In spite of my desires, is it possible for me to make forcefully to make choices?
Forcefully to?
Make choices.
Possible to forcefully make choices.
In spite of my desires.
Choices for what? And desire means what?
Desire means maybe like self-gratification.
In spite of that, I can make choices for?
For not doing those things.
Yeah. Is it possible? Well, according to the Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, you see many people have made it, the choices. You can see that. Bali Maharaj is making a choice. He's a demon. Prahlad Maharaj is surrounded by demons. In the kingdom of his father, he makes a choice. These are extreme circumstances of people making a choice. If that is possible, why can't you make a choice? It's not impossible. It's not impossible. But what is the filling aspect is, in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's time, it is relatively far, far easier to make a choice. If you see the demigods offering prayers, I don't know where that is, glorifying Bharatavarsha residents. In Bharatavarsha, it's far easier to make a choice. In Bharatavarsha, it is far easier to make a choice. And in Bharatavarsha, during the time of Lord Chaitanya, it is even more easy to make a choice. And that is why you have made a choice. Otherwise, it's not so easy that you will make a choice to be Krishna conscious. But don't take it for granted. See, there's nothing wrong in not being able to make a choice, because if you stick on over a period of time, you will make a choice, like Bharata Maharaj did. It is a question of time it takes. It's not that you will never be able to do it. That's what we learn from here. You will not be instantly able to do it, but you will do it after several attempts over a period of time. Because the power of devotional service is also there. Right? The power of devotional service is there. That's what we learn from Maharaj Bharata's time. Invevi kaunteya pratijanaihi name bhakta pranashyati. My devotee will not perish, will not be a failure in achieving me if he sticks on. Yes, any other comment or question? Yeah.
Finally, you mentioned we have to compose the prayer out of realization.
Pardon?
Compose the prayers out of realization.
Yeah.
Do you mean everyone should compose our own prayers? Or we have to read the prayers which are given Bhagavatam?
No, I'm not saying you have to sit and compose in that sense. I am saying that we get inspiration from the prayers offered by all these great devotees. These devotees are offering prayers. You can see the spontaneity, the natural prayer offered by them. And they are all very, very experienced souls offering prayers. They have followed instructions. They have met with so many challenges, and they have matured in Krishna consciousness. Therefore, those prayers are very interesting. If you read Kunti Devi's prayers, you will see that wide range of experience she has got in Krishna consciousness. And she considers herself a failure. I have not made it yet. So, you should carefully study these prayers in Krishna consciousness. You will appreciate. So all these things that you say, I may say you will appreciate, but the experience of appreciation should come naturally from you. By your reading, your meditating on this, and your thinking about it. And if you had a similar experience, it will be even further intensified. So devotee should desire, that's why, to be in Krishna consciousness, actively in the material world, performing for Krishna. Just because something is challenging, if you withdraw, you don't get that opportunity for purification. Right? It's not that you should simply chant Hare Krishna and do some automatically it will happen. You have to also face things that comes up to you using Krishna consciousness. That is when the purification happens. Isn't it? Then you will be able to offer prayers. When you are in a situation, the Pandavas were in a situation, they are being attacked, they are thrown into the forest. They want to follow Dharma, but they are being teased by envious gang of Duryodhana and company. And they keep ignoring it. But again and again, even in the forest, he comes and attacks them. Right? That they are forced to go for war with them. They don't like to do it. He said, just give me 5 villages, leave me alone. I'll look after mine. We were not really ambitious. We just want to do our dharma as Kshatriyas. He said, no, I like to tease you and I want you to be involved in. That is when they turned around and gave one slap. Isn't it? But they didn't like it. Because their children died, Abhimanyu died, the 5 children died, wife got disrobed. This class of people we don't want to do. I want to do my devotional service. But then you have to contend with it. And so you are forced to act in another way. You have to take up arms against your elders. These are all very difficult situations in life to deal with. But they did it because Krishna was next to them. And he said, go ahead, do it. I am with you. Isn't it? That is when they became top class devotees. It is not that it happened automatically to them. You should see Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada's life history. That's why you should read it. It's not just because he's a pure devotee and everything happened for him. I don't take that. He's a pure devotee and he is getting attacked in so many ways in this material world. All sorts of things happen to him. But the way he responds in Krishna conscious action, that is important. We are talking about ourselves destroying our own spiritual life. If you are wanting to do service to Krishna and somebody else opposes it, that's even more excruciating. Isn't it? One is our own free will, which we are battling with inside. But if you are able to do something and you want to do and you are going to do and it is opposed, that's even more different challenge. All these things you will see these devotees go through. Why? Krishna said, my devotee will never perish. When you do that, then your prayer becomes heartful. It is out of experience that you pray. So everybody's prayer is valuable to Krishna. Even a small squirrel also is making attempt to serve Lord Ramachandra and praying, I want to lift this stone and put it there for Lord Ramachandra. He's got his own world, his own challenges, his own problems. And Lord Ramachandra accepts that. service very valuably. Isn't it? Krishna's reciprocation with the living entity is very amazing. It's not that you have to be Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada to get Krishna's attention. You can be where you are in your situation and sincerely offer your prayer. It will have quality. It will have quality in sincerity. That's all you should focus on. You should focus on your own devotional service and your own purification. It will be pure. The prayer will be wonderful for Krishna. When a small child offers to the father a small gift, a birthday gift, Father, happy birthday to you. I made this for you out of cardboard and pieces of paper and glue. It looks so ugly and lousy. But that becomes very attractive to the father. That piece of art. Why? It's coming from my son. It's made out of love and affection. How much trouble he has gone through to do it. He has gone to the shop, he has bought this, he has bought that and put it together and all that. It becomes a personal relationship that's important. So you can express yourself to Krishna sincerely according to your situation. And Krishna accepts that. Maybe Kunti Devi and maybe the gopis offered wonderful prayers. Gopika Geetam is so high-class prayers. Kunti Devi's prayers is also there. There's Prahlad Maharaj's prayers. There is Jambūdvīpa residents' prayers. All of them are offering prayers. Why? And why that is cited in the Bhagavatam. You can see different varieties of prayers. Because it's all the junction at which things are happening. They are sincerely expressing themselves. And many of them will shamelessly say, I'm addicted to sense gratification of this top. The demigods are praying like that. We have completely lost ourselves in gratification. Although we know that you are the Supreme. All that they will shamelessly, helplessly express themselves in prayer. And Krishna accepts that and blesses you to progress. There's communication. There is appreciation, there is acknowledgement, there is connection. That's important. It does not mean that Krishna acknowledges immediately you become purified and fly back to Godhead. It's not happening also here. Krishna appears and he says, I accept your prayers, but you have to do your job. You can continue to do your job. And when you become all right, you can come back to me. Yes, so that is great encouragement. I hope that helps. Yeah. Is this a question? Senthil Prabhu, sometimes one may have some small, tiny realizations, but one tend to forget it. Is there a way to learn something forever? Write it down. Prabhupada's instruction is, write down your realizations. There's a beautiful quote of Prabhupada saying that realization means it's personal to you, you can write it. Prabhupada encourages, I don't have the immediate thing in my memory. He describes what is a realization very wonderfully in choice words. Everybody has realization of Krishna, which is unique for themselves. So you have this realization and you feel you forget it, note it down. Now you have all sorts of devices, you can note it down. You can even put a voice message. And you can, if you find it difficult to sit and punch it, you suddenly got a great realization while you're chanting Hare Krishna, voice message it and keep it with you as a memo. And then later you can put it down in words, you can think about it and develop it further. So, I think your question I'm answering in a very simple way. How to learn something forever is to exercise your Krishna consciousness by serving Krishna in this world of illusion and opposition, when you cut through and determinedly go and distribute a book, and it is needed, I should do this. Instead of being in a comfortable situation, you go into the world and distribute a book and face difficulties depending on Krishna. Then your realizations get etched in your consciousness for good. And you can be in touch with them whenever you want. Because it is real. That's why Bhagavad Gita is not something for just learning the shlokas alone. Many times people first, Bhagavad Gita, I want to learn the shlokas. I tell them first, why don't you understand the meaning, then learn the shlokas. But increasingly everybody wants to learn shlokas. Nothing wrong, very good. But as soon as you learn the shlokas, you think you know Bhagavad Gita. Because you can chant them. You chant the shlokas, but it's important to also understand these shlokas. What is Krishna's instruction? And go deep into that, practice it, employ it in your daily Krishna consciousness. Then you get realizations. Those realizations are yours. You can write it down. You can remember them. And in this way they become precious. And your realizations may inspire me also. And I may act in Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada said, all my purports are my personal ecstasies of realization in Krishna consciousness. I put it down. I am actually functioning and I can feel Krishna constantly in my activities. I write it down. So they become inspiration to me. But my realizations on my own, that is very unique. Therefore you can write it. That was Prabhupada's instruction. You write your realization. Okay? Om Tat Sat. I hope I have helped you, Chandil. Any other question or comment?
Sun is like an invisible dust as creation. It is so small. Sun is actually reserved the creation. It's an invisible dust actually. The size of creation, as you told, explained, is huge, unimaginably huge. And Krishna, just like that, is created and he made it for all the purely for the living beings to satisfy their desires, rebellious souls. And in this context, I am asking him, Virat what he showed to Arjuna, is it always there?
No, it's mentioned that the Virat Rupa is present only in the material world. It's a temporary manifestation of Krishna's greatness. And it is not eternally existing in the spiritual world. Prabhupada explains that in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. In the 11th chapter, in the Vishwarupa chapter of Bhagavad Gita. It's not an eternal form of the Lord. It is mostly meant for showing to materialistic people, demoniac people. And Krishna, you will see, he showed it to Duryodhana. He showed it to Duryodhana. And he's showing it to Arjuna. And it's mentioned Arjuna is purposely asking Krishna to show it. Although he knows Krishna's greatness. Why? Because my questioning will be interpreted differently by another fellows. So better you show, I call it audio-visual exhibition of Krishna's greatness. Audio I heard till now. In the 10th chapter you hear audio, Krishna's greatness, Vibhuti, Vibhuti mat sattvam, Krishna says. And then Arjuna says, better you show what you told. Visual also you show, then only these rascals will not imitate you. Prabhupada says that. So 11th is visual, 10th is audio. The 11th is complete. After that, nobody can say he is God. Prabhupada says there, if anybody claims to be God, he must show his Vishwarupam. Finished. That's it. Nobody can say anything.
So Narayan, when he was told, the devotee who told Narayan was put in a lot of trouble.
Narayana Bhattatri.
And always why Krishna is putting his own pure devotees in such a trouble that...
For you only it is trouble, because you are watching from the material platform.
But he was trying, really trying.
It may not be. How do you know what is his experience inside? His experience inside is because of his Krishna consciousness. Is mixed with his material situation plus his realization and Krishna consciousness. Imagine a person who has no Krishna consciousness and suffering pain. That will be a horrible pain. That's why they do all that. But a Krishna conscious person, suffering material pain becomes more intense in his Krishna consciousness. That's why there is a saying, what is that shloka in the Chaitanya Charitamrita? Yata dekhiya Vaishnavera dukh, tata janiya uni paramananda sukh. Of course, it's not to be taken very lightly. Whenever you see that a Vaishnava, a devotee of the Lord, is in some sort of material pain, you must also understand that inside he is paramananda sukh. He is also experiencing. Why? Because he must be intensely connecting with Krishna. Why? What does he think? I am suffering this because of my past sinful activity. And you have made this minimum for me. And I am such a low-class person. In this way he utilizes the material situation and becomes more intense in Krishna consciousness. So the value is given for the capacity for him to become intensely Krishna conscious. The misery affords that. Therefore that misery is great. That's why Kunti Devi is saying, Vipata Santo Tashashvat Tatra Tatra Jagat Guru. Give me that misery more and more, because I'm able to think about you more intensely. So this mechanics of misery for a devotee is a little different. It's a little different. So suffering, Prabhupada explained that by saying that suffering of an orphan is different from the suffering of a person who has got good parentage and people. Right? If you are disconnected with Krishna, your suffering is horrible. But if you are connected with Krishna, your suffering is different, supported by Krishna. So these are deeper considerations, especially for devotees. Okay?
We can also gauge our own Krishna consciousness by this.
Exactly. Because the tools are there for you. Bhagavad Gita gives you tools for that. And the Bhagavatam gives you, journals of such application and history. So therefore, everybody goes through these things in life. Nobody is spared. Even Brahma is not spared. Material world is a educational program. You have to forcefully get educated. There's no option. No homeschooling also allowed. You have to be exposed. You have to go to the public school. Homeschooling is only for Krishna does for his devotees. Only Krishna does for his devotees. All others are forced to the government school, Maya school. Whether you are admitted or not, you are a student. You will be treated. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Any other question?
Now with the science background, they are able to understand the creation, the size of creation and everything. Those days I am unable to conceive how devotees were really conceiving the creation and really the gigantic thing about the creation. And every time they praise Krishna, it is very rare that you have come and doing this and leelas, but the leelas are not as appealing to them as it is to me. I think maybe 3 times I can hear a leela, and the 4th time I think already I heard kind of feeling. But the pure devotees, the way they describe the leelas is really unimaginable.
Because it's got depth. It's got depth, not only width. The pure devotees are involved in depth, not only externally seeing the width. Oh, it is so nice, it is like this, it is like that, this is described, that is described. It's all part of it. But Krishna is mentioning, they enter into my pastimes in the Bhagavad Gita. Tato mam tatvato jnatva vishate tadanantaram. Pravisham, you will enter into my pastimes. So when a pure devotee describes pastimes, he is inside it. And these pastimes are not just one time it is played, it will not be played anymore. You can see it on YouTube. It's not live anymore. It's not like that. It's constantly live. Even now it is happening and you can be part of it. That is the meaning of Krishna's pastimes. So you can take part in it. And a pure devotee is inside it when he tells. Yes, at various levels you can take part in it. That's mentioned in many places. So Krishna consciousness is vibrant, multi-dimensional, very deep, and constantly live. You don't need transmission and streaming and broadcast from there and all that. It's happening already. You have to become qualified to be part of it. These are amazing things about the descriptions given in the Bhagavat. That to understand that this book is happening at every moment. It is not just black and white print. You can look at this book as a composition of black ink on white paper, printed in the press. Isn't it? But that's not it. When you read it, something else happens to you. These meanings come alive. This meaning that comes inside. These prints of all these 26 alphabets of the English is combined in a particular way, put into sentences, and they hit you. So many things are happening inside. For a printer in the press, he doesn't go beyond printing it. What does he think is the Bhagavatam? This is my realization because I do a lot of printing of Bhagavatam in the Malayalam language. So the printer is looking at it in terms of how much money he will get. At the most, he gives me technical idea of how to lay it out in this way, that way and all that. But for me, it goes beyond that. Because when I sit and read it, so much of depth is there in this. But the width is, it costs so much. Please buy it. It's printed in so and so place. That is the width. It's got a jacket, it's got all these paintings inside. But for a devotee, it's got depth. Isn't it? In the same way, when a devotee is describing Krishna conscious Leela of Krishna, it is not just a story. It is not just a story. It is his story. It's called history. It is his story, Krishna's story. It is not just history, it is his story. Isn't it? It's very different. Yeah. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Nittai